And one is, how did you find the hospitality there? Apparently, when the former mayor, Chuck Ackman, was there in '99, he was blown away by it, according to this poster. So, how was it for you guys? What did you think about it?
I was blown away as well.
So, what about it? What made them so hospitable? What was it? Was it the pomp and circumstance, the formality? I saw pictures of a lot of evening gowns and a lot of tuxes, and or was it just,
Again, I think it was kind of their culture. It was everything throughout. So when I would be out on our own, walking out through, a lot of people would come up and speak German, or you could hear the German. If they knew you didn't speak German, then right away they would put on the English, because they are taught English in the 5th grade. We don't have that requirement here, and we can speak or be offered to taught many different dialects. So right away they would make you feel right at home by speaking English, and a lot of them could obviously do that. So and then there again too, they have a lot of retail and a lot of shops and bakeries and everything else, open air markets, a lot of eating al fresco and everything too, and a lot of people are very polite. And one thing that I noticed too when we get into it is there's a lot of people on bikes, a lot of people walking around, and people kind of whizzing around and everything else, but everybody's playing. Nobody feels like they almost got hit by a bike, or nobody feels like, well, you're from America or anything like that. It was very, how can we help you? Very welcoming. And that was one thing I took back too, is that the image that we're portraying here in Faribault, to all of our guests and people that come to find a home here in the city of Faribault. So.
Yeah, community pride. It's a big deal.
Absolutely.
Big deal. So how about, the other question I had was, how do you plan to continue to exploit that connection? I think that's a good segue into some of the economic development stuff that you both mentioned when you were talking during this week's council meeting, a little bit about the trip. How are you going to continue this? This obviously had sort of faded a little bit, and you two are both very, very passionate about it, I can tell. So what are you going to do to keep it going?
I think there's a couple different things. One of them was, some of the emails I got back, but go ahead.
I wake up in the middle of the night thinking we could do this and we could do this, and it's just, and again, it's just shortly. I mean, it's just shortly that I was there. So I mean, the ideas are going. But again, I said at a council meeting, I've already been working on this, but I said, I don't see their wine here in Faribault or in Minnesota. Why should we not have Wuerzburger wine served here in our restaurants and at Haskell's and the things? So I'm already working on that. I got a distributor lined up through California that I got from the Lord Mayor's wife, and we're working on that. And I called the woolen mills and said, how about you guys distributing blankets over there? And we kind of have this connection of blankets and wine and back and forth. I mean, how neat would it be for our visitors in Faribault to come in and go to Alexander's or Signature or wherever and say, I'd like a glass of your wine. Well, how'd you like a glass of wine from our sister city of Wuerzburg? And just those connections and things like that. Again, the gentleman from Japan just emailed me this morning and wanted, he's possibly coming to, or is coming to St. Paul, which is one of Nagasaki's sister cities, and he's coming this year, and he would like to come and visit. So just those connections and things like that, and business and all kinds of different things we can do. So one last thing, the Lord Mayor, his wife is very interested in coming back there. Actually, she studied in Chicago, as I said, and they come back once or twice, or either once a year, once every other year, and they would like to come to Minnesota, so we'd like to offer something for them. Talked to a couple local business people who would offer rooms, vehicles, things like that, to do the same thing that they did for us over there to welcome them here. So I think that's really exciting. There's just so many opportunities and possibilities that we can cross-market and do things together.
The other thing I would say, that's one facet, is to keep those links in that network open. The other one would be what can we take back? Like I said, there's a lot of al fresco and open air markets and stuff. What can we do in our downtown to help our locals, our current businesses, help tourism, help get more people in the certain areas that we want? How can we improve our own city, our own arts and culture and stuff? And I think there's a lot of takeaways from that as well. And then one thing that we talked about too, it seems like we, by design, we seem to over-engineer, we overthink everything. We want everything to either be perfect or not do it at all to a certain extent. We're trying to get a bike lane over from White Sands Park over here
to the downtown.
To the downtown, and there's 2 city blocks. And granted, there's standards in engineering, but over there, if you saw the way they would bike and tootle through and everything else, in certain areas where it's busier, they do have, here's a bike lane, respect it, and here's pedestrian, and here's a bus and stuff like that too. But the way people just mingle, and you're not tripping over cars because they really don't allow parking in certain areas. But the bikes are free to go wherever they want, and whether one whizzes past you 6 inches away, nobody seems to mine. It's the way it is, and it's the openness, and that's the way it works. So those are some of the things that are
and it is a different culture, and we can't make that whole culture happen, but we can.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
I mean, I think if we pick up a few things and start the progression, and again, we're talking about some downtown vision things.
Like what? Give me a tangible.
Well, one of the things we were working with Nick Stoneman from Shattuck, looking at some of his faculty housing downtown. We've been working with Dr. Parker from South Central about some possible student housing downtown in conjunction with that. We've been looking at a possibility of a museum downtown in conjunction with both of those things. Now we have the craft brewery F-Town that's going to be opening up in a month. That's a classic example of the things that happen over there. Putting a little fence out front there. They have the glass garage doors that you'll see that everybody sees as they drive by there.
Yeah.
Things like that is what we saw over there. So that is really that idea. I think there's in a certain example downtown, they actually had just put like a wood deck, temporary deck down in a couple parking stalls and put a couple tables out there. And the city gets the money. The business leases the parking stall, which generates income from the city that we wouldn't be receiving otherwise. Just ideas, and they put a fence up and throw 3 or 4 tables down. Say it's at Signatures or Boxers or Alexander's, little public space that people can sit outside and do those things, and we can generate income to the city for those things and make it more of a touristic town, downtown Faribault. Those are ideas that are just.
And I think the city took a pretty good hand. We saw, we took a picture of a little street sweeper that was out at, something you'd almost see at Disneyland.
I wondered why did you take a picture of that street sweeper?
Well, because it was neat. Because they had
the city took pride in their stuff,
and take pride.
But yet we saw store owners, and there was a lot of restaurants, and I took a lot of pictures, and we'll publish it later and stuff too. But a lot of their restaurants are small mom and pop shops, if you will, that had probably no more than 12 tables. But that's the way they make their living, and obviously I only saw one, I think, storefront that wasn't filled. So obviously they get a lot more tourism and everything in there. But yet I saw somebody out there in the morning, with a little hand sweeper, just kind of cleaning up her little area of the sidewalk in front of it. So if they see the city cleaning up the larger part and providing for park and plaza areas, then more people are going to take pride in that little area. As far, we didn't see cigarette butts. And I had to laugh because there was a McDonald's over there and there was a Burger King sign I saw. And of course, the one piece of litter that I did see happened to be from
An American restaurant.
Yes.
An American restaurant.
But
the other thing, one evening I was out and we were having a sandwich down by the river, and there was a gentleman there that had a big plastic bag, and in the bag he had plastic bottles. And there's a return fee there. I think it's 10 cents or €10 there. And he was playing a guitar. And in exchange for the music, instead of putting money down, people would throw the recycling bottles in his bag as a gift to him to play music, as like a tip.
Sure.
For any
because he could trade it in for money.
Yeah, he trades it in for money. The people think, hey, this person needs it. I'd rather recycle than just give money, so they'd throw the recycling in there. He would collect the recycling money and pay for his housing needs or whatever he needed. So, and there wasn't a lot though. I mean, I will tell you, there wasn't a lot of people like that or things like that. But you'd see occasional here recycling. Things like that, so they got a lot of things down.
Were they more business friendly or less business friendly than us? What do you think? I know that a lot of times you hear some criticisms that Faribault isn't the most business friendly community. What was your?
We're trying to change that, but yes.
Well, but setting that aside, whether it's true or not is sort of immaterial. I'm more interested in what your.
The one thing that
what your impression was there,
like a waitress or a waiter or something. I think they were much more, I don't call it business friendly, but more hospitable. Is that the word?
Yeah.
They're just more friendly with you and things like that. Whereas some of the restaurants around the United States and Faribault just are more of, what's your order? I'll take it and go. They didn't really want to talk or discuss things and say how's your trip or things like that. Over there, they're much more laid back and more inviting. And
one thing I noticed about different cultures too. Here, I guess, actually, but over there too. So I went out and had a pizza one night, and so it was a party of one, and then the person came back after, and the whole terrace was full, and they said, well, would you mind sitting at a table with somebody else? They knew I was American, so then I said, well, no, if it's okay with them. So here I'm sitting at a table with 2 other people. They had 2 chairs open because they were on a table for 4. So
yeah, why not?
They were half done, so they allowed me to sit with them. And then after they were, so we had a good conversation. But after they were done, they got up and left. And 2 other people came, and they saw that some chairs were open. So they asked me, "Well, can I sit down with you?" And so it's kind of the way. Of culture over there is, again, they're very open-minded, and it is a different business climate. Obviously, there's a lot more tourism and stuff too, but I think we do have a bit Minnesota nice. So I went into a lot of shops, and I was buying, a scarf and stuff for my wife and daughter, and you'd get people that come up to you. First of all, they probably want to know what a guy is doing in a woman's clothing store, time and time again. But right away, they knew I spoke English, and so they knew I was probably from America and shopping around. For
And therefore
my wife
liked
and
women's scarves, or
but they would show up. Okay, we got more upstairs.
And we weren't together at the time, so it wasn't like we were shopping for stars
We
together.
stayed outside. So,
funny.
but no, they were very helpful.
Yeah, there you go.
So, what should I be asking you that I haven't? Is there anything else, any observations that you want to make for our audience here that you can think of?
The only one thing is, first of all, I'd like to say thanks to the community for sending us over there, because I think it was a very good thing. And I know you always get that second guess with the government's money to be spending it's people over there. But I think the importance of that is amazing, because I think we'll try and keep that connection much more, because I think they value that very much. So I think we need to reconnect. And again, as I said before, and I've told them, is part of the reason we lost that connection was because we're in an economic downturn. Dan Buke, who was our gentleman that worked for the city, kept that relationship going, and during the downturn we had to let that person go. Well, the economy's coming back, and it's not quite as tight as it used to be, so I think we need to really make sure that relationship stays going. And I'm not leaving town in anywhere near future, so I'll know that and make sure that if when I'm not the mayor, that I make sure the next mayor knows what that importance is, or the next administrator, or the next council people, that really is an important connection to keep going.
No, I think we touched on a lot of the highlights. I think there was a lot of things to bring back on how we can improve. There was a lot of similarities about how we can improve life quality here in the city of Faribault. A lot of things on the tourism standpoint, and a lot of things on how to engage our citizens and engage and network those on the outside moving in. So it was really an eye-opener on kind of what's going on in the rest of the world, I guess, was a lot. So here's the city of Wuerzburg, and they have 13 sister city delegations, if you will. And we hadn't been over there in some time. So when we did go over there, they were, very grateful to see us. A lot of people were interested in hearing what we had to say. So it was nice to see what an impact we already have out there. And it was great to actually put a face with the name of the city of Faribault out there. Very interested in going back, or at least the city of Faribault in some fashion going back, and again establishing that network where maybe we can invite people here so that we can continue that relationship.
Cool. Very good. Okay, this is Jackie Smith from the Faribault Daily News. I'm here with City Administrator Brian Anderson and Mayor John Jasinski. We were talking about their recent trip to Wuerzburg, Germany. Look for an excerpt of this conversation in tomorrow's Daily News, and of course you can always look at this. I will post the link on the Faribault Daily News' Facebook page and on my Twitter at FDN Jackie Smith. Thanks. Have a great afternoon.